Welcome to Money Chat Today with your hosts Larry Steinhouse and Rick Lee. From the School of Hard Knocks, they present with years of knowledge on how to help you make more money and how to keep it.
Hi, I'm Larry Steinhouse.
And I'm Rick Lee.
Welcome to Money Chat Today. This is a show where we help people make more money and help people keep it. Rick?
Yeah, Larry.
You have 20 bucks? I'm kind of short.
Man, you're always asking me for money.
I know, man. You know what it's like? It's like I get my paycheck on Friday, and come Tuesday, I don't have any more money.
Man, that's not even a week.
I know, and then I can't wait to get my paycheck on Friday because then I got money. And then I usually pay back on time. I'll try to pay back on time. When I get my paycheck on Friday, man.
Okay, well, do you know where do you have any idea where your money goes?
I have no idea where my money goes.
Man.
I just kind of like get my check, and I owe this person, and I owe that person. I have this payment, I got that payment. I just make these payments, and then my rent's due, and my landlord's always yelling at me because my rent's always late. But you know what? Everybody gets paid. It just takes a little while.
Oh, hey, that's where a lot of people are, Larry. So we're in the right. I guess we have the right episode today because our theme is a very popular theme that everyone will love, and that is budgeting.
Everyone's going to love budgeting?
Yeah, I'm being facetious, Larry. I'm really being facetious. This is going to be the castor oil of our episodes.
So it's kind of obvious here that we're going to talk about budgeting today. And I have to tell you what happens. And and you can see in our low budget TV show that we have a bunch of glasses here. And I want to talk to you a little bit about these glasses and what we've done here. This is basically what happens. We get our paycheck and we take our measuring cup of our paycheck, and what happens, right? First thing that happens is we're going to pay our household. So we're going to pay our maybe our taxes and our mortgage and our rent, and we're going to pay that. Okay? And that's what happens. So then what happens? The next thing is
those credit card bills are really
they're
starting to call you now,
nasty.
Larry. Yeah, those debt collectors are nasty. You want to stop those phone calls.
But you know what? I think they're going to turn off my electric. So I'm going to pay that
okay,
next.
yeah, you better pay that.
So I'm also going to pay, while I'm at it, I'm going to pay my electric and my insurance and some of my medical bills that have been hanging around for a little while.
Yeah,
so I'm going to pay those too.
Right.
I got to get to work, so I'm going to pay my transportation.
Right, you got to have gas.
Right, definitely got to have gas. And then I got to pay my car payment, actually, don't I?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then, of course, I want to go out, so I'm going to go out at night. No, I don't
you gotta
go
have
out
some
money,
fun.
but I got to go out now, right?
Oh, sure.
And then, as you said, Rick, I got to pay my debts, and that's
right.
a big garbage can to show
Yeah,
my debts.
yeah.
So now you know why I need to borrow 20 bucks from Rick.
Yeah. It's empty.
It's empty.
Oh, man.
So I got to fill this back up next Friday.
So we can, hopefully, what we can do with today's episode is to have you have some in there by the time you get the next refill.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. But is that possible? Can people actually do that?
Yes, they can, Larry. And it's through that dirty word budget.
I wrote in my book, I'll tell you a funny story, because I write in my book, and you guys all know my book, I won $25 million in the lottery. My book, I talk about budgeting in my book, and I talk about something that's hysterical, and it's about discipline. And I love this definition of discipline, because first of all, we all know discipline, right? When we were kids, our parents disciplined us, or when we were in school, our teachers disciplined us. So here you go. The real definition of discipline, and the one that we should probably think about is, and I have to apologize, but I'm getting old. To discipline means to instruct a person or animal to follow a particular code of conduct, or to adhere to a certain order. Discipline refers to methods of modeling character and teaching self-control and acceptable behavior. Now imagine that we had the discipline to actually have our money last longer. And the way to do that is, just as Rick is saying, to have a budget. So why don't we talk a little bit about budget? I'm going to start all over again here. I'm going to say that today I'm going to start my budget. I'm going to work things a little bit differently than I used to work them before. So Rick, what did you come up with on budgets for us?
Let's start with the definition. First of all, the theme of this, of our episode, is that everyone is the CFO of their own life. Now, CFO CFO.
Hold on a second. I can
Yeah.
make a lot of noise here.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
we go. All right.
Okay, good. You rescued it from the trash
Rescued
can.
it from
That's
the
pretty
trash can,
good.
yes.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to rescue your money from the trash can. But the theme of our episode today is that everyone is a CFO. Now, the term CFO stands for Chief Financial Officer, and normally you would think of, let's say, the Chief Financial Officer of Coca-Cola.
Right,
That's
right,
quite a
right.
responsibility. Think about how many hundreds of thousands of employees they have and how many billions of dollars. He's really responsible for the flow of every single penny. And you have to be pretty sharp to be a CFO of a Fortune 500 corporation. But everyone is the CFO of their own life. So if you're watching this episode today, you are a CFO. And the amounts in a way don't matter because it's the discipline to manage your money properly. And we all heard those ads, it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
so everyone is their own CFO, and also it's easier than you think to budget. It's really not hard. Interestingly enough, the dictionary definition of budget comes from the Old French budget, which means a purse.
Huh.
And so that's interesting. It already has a connotation of keeping your money, because if your money's in a purse, it is basically staying put. But from Wikipedia, the definition of a budget, and it's, again, this is a very simple episode. Simply put, a budget is a list of all planned expenses and revenues. It is a plan for saving and spending. That's all it is. It's a list. I mean, we all make lists. We make grocery lists and
Sure.
and vacation lists. So really, it's a list if you want to boil it down to its simple. And the purpose of a budget, the basic purpose when you first start, is so that you make ends meet.
Rick, I gotta tell you, you got all these people watching this, and and me and you, and all the people who haven't budgeted before. I gotta admit that you and I have started budgeting for a while.
Right.
But all the people who haven't budgeted before, and before I started budgeting, and before my family started budgeting, and all these things, the first thing that goes through your mind is, yeah, right, it'll never happen. What's going to happen when you have the emergency bill, or this, or that, or you don't know my family, you don't know my circumstances, you don't know my this. You know what? Enough with the excuses. I guarantee you it's going to work if you absolutely sit down and do a budget and draw it out. Now, it's not easy. You have to start. Remember the term discipline. You have to start with the discipline to do it. You have to decide you want to do it. You have to decide that you're going to be money conscious. If you're not going to be money conscious, you're never going to have any money.
No.
It's as simple as that. You might as well take the whole paycheck and just put it right in the trash can, because that's really where it's going to go. And the reality is, sometimes you have to just realize that if you don't start doing this now, that later on your ability to earn money goes down more and more and more. Your age, your skills, the possibility of anything happening to you, such as a disability or a death in the family, or something happens to you that you can't work anymore or can't work at the same level. You have to understand that today you're making more money than you're going to make every day. At least think that way. And if you think that way, you start putting part of it away and start doing some of the things and start budgeting it, you'll have more money. Believe it or not, you'll actually have more money. You won't have less money. And it's a weird phenomenon. I know it happened to me, it happened to you. It's a weird phenomenon when you actually start budgeting. You actually notice that you have more money to do the things you want to. It actually gives you freedom. People think a budget takes away from your freedom. It actually gives you freedom.
It sure does.
Yeah.
It sure does. And you can use the excitement of having more money as a motivator to keep you going. And it's like learning any new habit, Larry, but I want our listening audience to understand that it really is simple. It may not be easy at first, because it's like going to the gym for the first time or anything else, but it is simple. If you have a pencil and a piece of paper, you can do a budget.
Yeah, and if you think you're gonna, and if you, I always use an analogy of a diet, okay? Rick's laughing because I use this analogy over and over and over again in my coaching courses. It's real simple. People are gonna make mistakes in a budget. Something's gonna happen. Some emergency's gonna come up. You're gonna screw it up, and it's not impossible. It's not possible to understand that's gonna happen. What you need to understand is what to do the next day. Okay, you haven't budgeted in the last 10 years or last 20 years or last 5 years, whatever it is, and today you start budgeting. Now you're doing really well for 6 weeks. All of a sudden something comes up and it screws your budget up. You know what? Don't worry about it. Go back the next day and start over again. It's just like when you're on a diet. If you're on a diet, and this is the analogy, if you're on a diet and you you've been doing really well for 3-4 weeks, you've lost, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds, and then all of a sudden you go to a party, and this party has a buffet of food that you've never seen before.
Oh, man.
And you totally pig out, right? You totally pig out. The next day, you get on the scale, and you notice that you didn't actually didn't actually gain any weight, or maybe you gained only a pound. What you do that day determines the rest of the diet. If you go back to your regular dieting habits that next day, everything will be fine. You'll be back on the diet, you'll be losing weight again, everything will be fine. But if that next day, you start eating and pigging out because you say, hey, you know what, big deal, I pigged out last night, let me pig out tonight. Your diet's over, you're going to gain all that weight back, and it's the same thing as the money. If you're on a budget and all of a sudden you notice you start putting money away, you're starting to save money, you're starting to pay your bills on time, everything's starting to work, some screws up, if you make the decision to go back on the budget the next day, everything will be fine. I promise you, everything will be fine. Just keep going. It's discipline. Discipline comes and discipline goes. Keep coming. So what do we suggest that we do? How do we suggest that we do put together a budget, Rick?
Well, one thing I just also want to point out is regarding the emergencies, and that is the emergency is going to come whether you budget or not.
That's right.
If your car is going to die or your furnace is going to blow up, it's going to happen whether you were budgeting or not. But a budget gives you the confidence so that you don't freak out or lose it when those things happen, because you're starting to take control of your money rather than your money controlling you. So the emergency is going to come either way, but you're better prepared for it if you're starting to budget. But ways you can budget, again, the simplest way is you can just use a pencil and a piece of paper.
And what do you suggest people do who have never budgeted before, for example?
Well, I'd suggest that they get a pencil and a piece of paper, or you can, if you like Microsoft Excel, which I happen to love Microsoft Excel.
Okay.
I think it's very important to list your assets before you list your liabilities. Just psychologically, following the law of attraction, it's better to look at what you have rather than what you don't.
So you should write down things like
all your income from all sources.
So you put down your income. So you list your income. So the first thing you do is you get a check from XYZ Corporation of $750 at the end of the week or a month or whatever. Every 2 weeks, whatever it is. You put that as $750 for the week or for the month.
You put it for the month. You budget on a monthly basis.
Okay, so you budget on a monthly basis. So let's say it's $1,350 for a month. You put that in your amount that your income or your asset.
Right.
So that's your income. Okay, right. So then what do you suggest we do from there?
Well, as soon as you have all your income listed, and again, that's your paychecks, if you have interest income coming in, or retirement, or an annuity, or Social Security, list all your income first, and it has to be net income, Larry, not gross.
Okay, good.
Okay, it's got to be money it's cash money that's in your account that you can spend.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
So, and it's funny because I used this illustration before in this cup. I actually wonder how many people, especially with direct deposit, how many people actually know to the penny what their check is at the end of the week or the end of the month. If they actually know to the penny what their check is, and you really should know. I mean, that's just money consciousness. It's not a necessary. It's not going to hurt you or help you to know to the penny but you know how much you're getting. You don't know that your money just kind of went into the garbage. So I would know exactly how much is in your measuring cup, your paycheck.
Exactly, and if I could follow up on that theme, there's a very famous motivational speaker who says that clarity is power. Okay, and one of the things that this whole budget process does is to give you clarity about your money, because most people are walking around in a financial fog, and that's why they're in such a panic. This will give you clarity. One of my themes is that you've got to know what the numbers are, even if you're pretty sure you may not like them. You've got to start somewhere, and you've got to know what your numbers are. And I'm sure I've had the experience, everybody's had the experience of walking around in what I call a financial fog, where do I have this much? How much do I have? And then, well, if I run this debit transaction through, is that going to cause it to bounce? A budget, you will see the numbers, and that, in your subconscious mind, that will actually tilt the balance of power in your mind, that you are now controlling your money rather than your money controlling you. So once you know what your net spendable income is, and with online banking today, it's really easy to see it. It really is easy to see it. The first thing, Larry, and this is a favorite subject of ours,
That's right.
is the untouchable account.
Now, you notice I had a jar over here, and we didn't put any money in this jar the first time around. Now, all you guys, I could actually hear you guys screaming at me. Okay? The first thing you're going to do is you're not going to pay any of these drawers, any of this, nothing until you put money into what's called an untouchable account. This untouchable account is your future account. It's your emergency account. It is your lifeblood account. It is what you are going to be worth later on. And the very first thing you do is you put 10% of your check into that untouchable account. And that's the first thing you're going to do. 10% of that money, actually a little more, but that's okay. We're going to put 10% of that money into the untouchable account. And we're going to lock it, and we're going to not touch it anymore. Because that's the concept. The concept is to not touch it anymore. And it's done. Now, I'm sorry.
That's okay. As they say in New York, forget about it.
Forget about it. Right? So we're not going to touch it anymore. Okay, so now you're looking at me going, oh my goodness, how am I going to make the rest of my bills if I just put 10% into my untouchable account? And I'm going to tell you this again from experience, again from people I've coached, my own personal experiences, Rick's experiences. It absolutely will work. The first 3 months are going to be the hardest ones. It will absolutely work. You ready? The next one is actually going to take out our trash can again. Okay, our trash can, if you remember, is our debt. It's all our debt, not including our primary mortgage.
Right.
Including a second mortgage, or a third, or a fifth, or whatever mortgage you have, but not your primary mortgage. This is the garbage can, because that's what that money is. It's total garbage.
And the interest is killing.
Exactly. And we're doing a show on that as well, so you'll enjoy that show as well. But let's talk about this. You're going to take 20%, not $1 less, not $1 more, 20%, and put it into your garbage can. I'm sorry, your credit card or your loan account, okay? So that's the next thing you're going to do. You're going to take that 20% and you're going to put it in there. And let me talk about this 20% because I think it's really important you understand a couple of things here that are going on. Take all your payments to your credit card bills and you're going to add them all up, and if they're less than 20% of your net salary, your net paycheck, then what I want you to do is increase the payments, and we're going to talk about debt stacking in another episode, but at the very least, just know that you're going to increase the payments until it reaches 20% of your paycheck. Okay, that's the first thing, 10% and 20%. Okay, you notice what's happening here? Now we're saving money and we're getting out of debt. These are the two most important things we can do. Save money, get out of debt. Save money, get out of debt. We're paying ourselves first. We are what's important. Not the credit card company, not the car loan company, no one else. We are what's important. Then you can start paying your other bills. Okay? Obviously, you want to pay your household bills, such as your mortgage or your rent. Okay? And you're going to pay that. And look, sometimes you have to, sometimes you have to understand that you may be living in too much of a house. If your income is $5,000 a month and you're living in a house with a payment that's $4,000 a month, you made a mistake. Move on. You got to do what you got to do. Everybody made mistakes the last 2 years. Do what you got to do. But again, we're going to talk about some of that stuff in some other episodes. Then start filling your jar. Start paying your transportation. Start paying your entertainment. Start paying your insurance and your other bills. Okay. And the interesting part is, and I illustrated this on purpose. The funny thing is, as you start to get money conscious, you will notice that you won't have to borrow the $20 2 days before your paycheck comes in. And all of a sudden you can use that money and you can go into a little more entertainment or a little bit more into transportation. And the next thing you know, your next paycheck comes and you fill up the bucket again and you go through the same routine again. We have a budget actually, if you haven't already seen it, at our website, Money Chat Today, we have a budget. Actually, it's a Microsoft budget. It's an Excel spreadsheet. I believe it was made by Microsoft. It's very simple to follow. And some of the other things that I would suggest is actually go through your checkbook and write down for last month every place you spent money. And if you can start doing that, you can start to see where you're starting to bleed. And you'll actually be able to save some more money. So what else do we have on budgets that people should know?
Well, one of the things is once you get started on the monthly budget, at some point you should construct a yearly budget.
Really?
We encourage people to start with the monthly budget first because the same way you eat an elephant, which is one bite at a time,
right.
You start small. But as you begin to gain confidence, you'll want to project a year at a time and then break it down into monthly budgets. One of the other things is following your budget. Many people, myself included, we've all started out with the excitement, it's the January phenomenon at the gym. I'm going to the gym, man. I'm going to shed this weight. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to rock it out. And, February 1st, it's like, you're on the couch with the clicker, and the gym's forgotten. It's great to get started, but persistence is what separates the winners from the losers. And again, this takes a little bit of effort, and it can be discouraging at first, but just plow through it, and just the excitement of having more money. Just think about what it would feel like. Let's just talk about the emotional component of having your money under control rather than being run by it. I mean, and hopefully not everybody in our audience is feeling this way, but how frazzled are you, and how much can you really enjoy life when you're sweating every bill? When when you've got that old theme, too much month at the end of the money. How stressful is that? Okay, how stressful is it to have a week and a half and $25 left in your checking account, and constantly? I mean, isn't it worth a little bit of effort? How well is what you're doing now working? I know that there's resistance, Larry, to starting any new habit, but I can promise people from personal experience, and toward the end of this episode, I'll talk about my own experience of how I used that Excel spreadsheet, and now I'm in love with it. I'm in love with it, and it's a daily discipline. Before I go to bed, I do what I call squaring up my money. Whatever money I've spent that day, I enter it in Microsoft Money, which I really happen to enjoy using, and then I also enter it into the Excel budget, which we'll talk about, and I make sure that the two spending results square up.
Excellent. And I have to have you, I know we're running out of time, but I have to have you tell the story about your choice. Now, you were talking about discipline, and we, this is really important. When you first start doing this, you make choices. And when you're really running it, you make disciplined choices. And I have to tell you, it was a great story. I loved it. It was actually one of my coaching calls when Rick was on the call, and he told us about some mental decisions he made about his budget one month. And go ahead and tell us the story.
I was going through some really challenging times. I've been dealing with paying some very, very high deductible health insurance that was taking a big chunk out of my monthly income. I mean, a hugely disproportional. And I was facing a month where the numbers definitely were not adding up. You talk about not wanting to look at your numbers. And I put 10% into my untouchable account, even though I knew I had outstanding bills.
So the first thing you did was you put 10% in your untouchable account. The next thing you did was you put 20% towards your debts.
Right.
Then what happened?
Then I started paying my bills in the order of what I thought was priority. I needed a car to get, obviously I needed to get to work.
Right.
Okay, so I paid for gas. Obviously, I needed a place to live, and the late fee on my rent, which I haven't paid late in about 10 years, but the late fee is really exorbitant. So I made the decision to pay for transportation first and housing close behind that. And I figured then it was electricity. Okay, to make a long story short, I knew I was getting behind in my phone bill, and I have my phone and internet on one bill. Mm-hmm. And I thought I had a little bit more time, but I called in on my cell phone in the middle of the day to check my messages, and I got a one of those lovely messages that, beep, beep, beep. This number is no longer in service. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, this is my own number. What do you mean it's no longer in service? Make a long story short, my phone got cut off. I could have easily paid that bill if I had dipped into my untouchable account, and it was a tough choice, but I would not do it. So I was without a phone, and I had to go to, also my email was cut off. And I will not mention the name of the company, but I had my email through the same company that I had my phone and my internet. So I couldn't even access my email from a library computer. And that's why, just as an aside, people might want to consider getting one of the other email accounts that is not linked to a provider.
That's an interesting point. I haven't even heard that.
So yeah, I couldn't even get my email from a remote computer, and it's really cute the way they do it, is every time you try to access, the payment screen comes up.
Oh, that's
funny.
Funny.
All that comes up. So I was incommunicado, except for my cell phone. I was incommunicado for a couple of days till I got paid again. Then I paid it off. But was it a difficult decision? Did I feel embarrassed that my phone got cut off? Sure, my phone hadn't been cut off for 25 years. But you know what? I did the right thing, and I let the chips fall where they may, and I would do the same thing over again right now if
Absolutely.
I had to.
And Rick's untouchable account is building, my untouchable account is building. Both of us, I'm telling you, we've been doing this I've been doing it for at least 2 years, Rick has been doing it for at least a year, right?
Yeah, at least a year.
And what we have found is it absolutely works, and we're going to tell you, absolutely start doing it today. Thank you, that's our episode for today. We look forward to seeing you next week. And thanks again from Money Chat Today.
Thanks.